Hey there, Algebra 2B. Here we are with lesson 8.1, multiplying and dividing rational expressions. So before we had them in the graph form and did all the graphing with it, and now this is the algebra part with it. Instead, we tried to get all the graphing together, and now we're doing all the algebra together. So this you would have probably did a little bit in the end of the year last year in 2A, so hopefully this isn't completely brand new to you. So number one, simplify each expression. We got x squared minus 5x minus 24. I'll zoom in a little bit here. These are kind of small. But I'm also going to have to fold this up a little bit. We'll do the best we can here. Okay, x squared minus 5x minus 24 over x squared minus 64. So again, we're going to have to remember some of our factoring techniques and strategies here. So with no number in the front, this one's hopefully relatively easy for you. What multiplies to negative 24 and adds to negative 5? We should be coming up with negative 8 and a positive 3. So across the top, we're going to have x minus 8 and x plus 3. All right, the bottom one, you could do the same thing. What multiplies to negative 64 and adds to 0. Or hopefully we recognize this is a difference of perfect squares, x squared minus 8 squared. Okay, so a difference of perfect squares, x minus 8, x plus 8. Our x minus 8s would cancel out, and here we have x plus 3 over x plus 8 for the final answer. Okay. B is pretty close, relatively similar to A. Why don't you push pause here and give yourself a second to get that one started. All right, welcome back. Pretty close to A, pretty close. Okay. We can take out 3 out of both things on the bottom. So we have 3 times c squared minus d squared on the bottom, and then again that's a difference of squares. So the top has c plus d, the bottom has 3 times, okay, c squared minus d squared, difference of perfect squares, c plus d, c minus d. It doesn't matter, like over here I did x minus 8, x plus 8. I would did the minus one first. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to do the plus one first this time so it lines up nice for canceling like that. All right, so our final answer there, this cancels out on top. It's not like there's 0 on the top. It's going to be a 1 over 3 times c minus d. There you go. Okay, this one is very close. Okay, just one slight little trick with this one, because we're used to seeing x squared minus 64, and now it's the number first minus the letter squared, okay? So the top would factor out to y plus 8, y minus 5. Mr. Handke, how are you doing that? What multiplies to negative 40 and adds to 3, positive 8 and a negative 5. So y plus 8, y minus 5. Okay, your teacher before might have taught you different factoring tricks. Go right ahead and use those. That's fine with me. Okay, we have difference of squares. Now, it's going to be tempting for you to put the letter in the front, but it's not in the front. The letter's in the back, and that makes a difference. So we have, and I about did it right there, didn't I? We have 5 minus y and 5 plus y. Okay, now it's real tempting to go y minus 5 and 5 minus y, not the same thing. Pretend that was 3. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. 5 minus 3 is positive 2. See, it's a difference of a negative sign. It's very, very close, but it's a difference of a negative sign. Okay, so what you're going to do is factor out a negative sign out of here, a negative. All right, because I want the y to be positive. So we're going to change this to negative 1. If I pull a negative 1 out of this set of parentheses, That's going to make the 5 negative, and the y is now positive. I took the negative out of there, so the y would be positive. Okay, so I can rearrange that. When it's addition, you can flip-flop it. When it's subtraction, you can't. So we're going to put the y in the front. Okay, plus a negative 5 or a minus 5 is the same thing. So now I can, just like we looked at this before, this was negative 3, this would have been negative 2. If we put 3 in there, this one would have been positive 2. It's a difference of a negative sign. So when I factor that negative sign out, now they're the same. And now we can cancel, but we still have this negative. Okay? We still have this negative. And we will finish then with y plus 8 on the top, 5 plus y on the bottom, and we have this negative 1 multiplier still on the bottom. And you can put that negative 1, you can leave it on the bottom if you want. You can pull it out on top, okay? Or out in front. It'll end up being the same. Or you can just leave it down there where you had it. Okay, let's see. Is this about the same thing? D. We have x's, we got y's. So let's pull x out in front on the top. A squared minus b squared. And we can take a y out on the bottom. Yep, b minus a. Alright. I've got you that far. Let's see if you can. It's going to be kind of similar to the one we just did. Let's see what you got. Push pause and see if you can finish that one up on your own. Okay, welcome back. We got x on the top. We're going to have a minus b, a plus b. Across the bottom, we got that y. B minus a isn't going to quite match it. Let's take a negative 1 out in there in front. And we know from before, if I take that negative 1 out, it's basically going to flip that around to a minus b. And there we go. So now we'll have a negative y on the bottom. If you multiply that negative 1 to the y, we got x times a plus b over a negative 1y. Kind of got squished in over there on the side. Okay. You might want to take a look in your textbook for an example in there about pulling that negative 1 out. Just to get more looks at it, different looks at it. They might try to explain it just a slightly different way. Or if you're still having trouble with it, you can search factoring with a negative 1 on YouTube or Khan Academy or anything like that. Okay, here we have multiplying two monomials, or multiplying two chunks, okay? Well, two monomial rational expression chunks, all right? So what we would like to do here, there's a couple different ways you can go about this. You can multiply across first and then reduce down, or I think it's easier to reduce the numbers first. Okay, so look at reducing the numbers first, because otherwise if I multiply across 27 times 8, that's going to be pretty big. 16 times 9, that's going to be really big, and I might not be able to see the quickest way to reduce. It might take me a while. Okay, I mean, the cheater way here that doesn't use much brain power is to just do it on your calculator. Multiply across 27 times 8, 216, 16 times 9, and do 216 divided by 144. Enter, math, frac. Okay, I'm going to have a 3 on the top and a 2 on the bottom. That's what's going to happen. All right? That doesn't take much brain power. Okay, that just takes button pushing. So I'm going to try to reduce these first. So 8 and 9 you can't reduce up and down. 27 and 16 you can't reduce up and down, but it's multiplication. So now I can still do top and a bottom. So 27 divided by 9 is going to be 3 on the top. 8 divided by 16 is going to be a half, or you can think about it this way. 16 divided by 8 is going to leave me with a 2 on the bottom there. All right. And now to me, this is a lot easier. Now we can combine across. So we'll have 3 x squared y to the 4th z over, let's see, 2. We got y and y to the 3rd. That's going to be y to the 4th there. Ooh, about missed that little x there. We do have an x. And we have z to the 3rd, okay? Now, do you remember from 2a how to reduce these? So we already did our numbers. The 3 and the 2 are there. Okay, I got x squared on top, x to the 1st on the bottom. The top one's bigger, so when I do the second power minus the first power, my answer part goes on the top, x to the 1st. Or you could just write x. Y to the 4th, y to the 4th, those are going to cancel each other out. There's nothing to write. Okay, z is bigger on the bottom, so when I subtract powers, my answer is going to go on the bottom. To the 3rd minus the 1st, 3 minus 1 is going to be z squared on the bottom. All right. Ooh, another good one coming up. Division. All right, remember what we do with division? Change it to multiplication and flip it upside down. So now this is going to be 26. I'm going to change it to a capital B because that little 6 is going to, or that little b is going to look just like a 6 right next to it there. And then the bottom we got 36 xy to the 3rd. All right, I already flipped it. I'm going to kind of color these out. Okay. So let's see what we can reduce here. All right. So you could reduce like, okay, 36 and 26 and divide them by 2 or something like that right away. And that's fine if you did that. Okay, I'm looking at these 12 and 13s over here. 26 divided by 13. That's going to be 2 on the top. 36 divided by 12. That's going to leave me with a 3 on the bottom when I reduce that. Okay. So now I changed it to multiplication, so I'm multiplying across. I got 2b x to the 3rd y. On the top, on the bottom, 3xy to the 3rd ab squared. So let's see, probably go in alphabetical order. 3ab squared xy to the 3rd. All right, now we're ready to reduce. Well, I can't do anything with the 2 and the 3. See, that's the nice part about reducing the numbers first, is that you don't have to worry about that now. Otherwise, those would have been really big numbers right here. I guess you could just use your calculator and do math frac at the end. To me, that's cheating and not really thinking. You're not using your brain, but I guess that gets you there. Okay. As far as the a's go, I got a to the 1st on the bottom. I don't have any a's on the top, so a to the 1st on the bottom it is. I got a b on the top. I got b squared on the bottom. The bottom one's bigger, so 2 minus 1 is going to be b to the 1st on the bottom. Okay, x is x to the 3rd on the top, x to the 1st on the bottom. Top is bigger, so when I subtract my powers, my answer is going to go on the top. 3 minus 1 is going to be x squared on the top. All right, now it's the same thing with the y's, but reversed, right? The bigger one's on the bottom, so 3 minus 1, y squared goes on the bottom. There you go. Whew. Bringing back good memories? I hope so. To me, this next one is one of the more fun ones because there's not a whole lot of stuff to do. You just got to factor. All right, so if you need a separate piece of paper to do your little magic X's or your factoring techniques, go ahead and get that out because there's not a whole lot of space for that here. All right, top left, we're going to have x minus 7, x plus 3. What multiplies to negative 21 and adds to negative 4, negative 7, positive 3. Okay, on the bottom, What multiplies to positive 8 adds to negative 6? How about an x minus 4 and an x minus 2? Negative 4 times negative 2, positive 8. Negative 4 plus negative 2, negative 6. Nothing to do on this one. Bottom, what multiplies to negative 35 and adds to negative 2? How about x minus 7, a negative 7, and a positive 5, x plus 5. Okay, cancel where you can. I got one of these on the bottom and on the top. I got one of these on the bottom and on the top. And we're left with final answer, x plus 3 on the top, and on the bottom, x minus 2, x plus 5. And we're just going to leave it like that. And we're just going to leave it like that. You don't need to FOIL it back out. Whew. H. We got a lot of stuff here. 3 more to go, guys. We're almost done. A squared minus b squared. 3a squared minus 6a plus 3. Okay. And we got 4a plus 4b and a squared minus 1 over here. Lots of stuff going on. Lots of stuff going on. So a squared minus b squared. We're going to do our difference of squares. A plus b, a minus b. Okay, it doesn't matter which one you put first. If it's the a minus b or the a plus b, it doesn't matter. All right, this one's scary because there's a number in front of a. But lucky for us this time, 3, 6, 3, they all can be divided by 3. Pull a 3 out in front. A squared minus 2a plus 1. And then you just go back and divide all these by 3. We're going to change this to multiplication. So now that's going to put a squared minus 1 on the top and 4a plus 4b on the bottom. I'm going to just kind of lightly scribble that out. Okay. We got a plus b, a minus b on the top of this one. Okay, 3 in the front still. What can this factor to? What multiplies to 1 and adds to a negative 2? This is a tricky one because it's the same thing. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. Negative 1 plus negative 1 is negative 2. So we have a minus 1 down here twice. A squared minus 1, that's a difference of squares. Again, doesn't matter which one goes first. A minus 1, a plus 1. And on the bottom, we're just going to take a 4 out in the front. A plus b. Now the fun part, canceling. That's going to cancel one of these. The a plus b can cancel that one up there. Okay, final answer, all that's left is going to be a minus b times a plus 1. And then on the bottom, 3 times 4, we can do that. That's 12. A minus 1. Whew! That was fun. That was really fun. Okay. J and K, fractions on fractions. All right, it's the same thing. Instead of dividing, multiply by the reciprocal. So instead of dividing this fraction divided by this fraction, we're going to change it to multiplication. And multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to flip the second one. So x squared y goes on top. A squared b goes on the bottom. Okay, good. There it is. I couldn't see it up on the screen. Okay. So change it to multiplication by the reciprocal. All right. We got a to the third on the top, a squared on the bottom. Top side wins. 3 minus 2 is a to the first on top. B to the third on top. B to the first on the bottom. Top side wins again. 3 minus 1 is b squared on top. X's. Squared on top, first on bottom. Top wins again. 2 minus 1 is x to the first on the top. Y's. We got y to the fourth on the bottom, y to the first on the top. Bottom side finally wins. 4 minus 1 is y to the third on the bottom. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm just going to let's have you just give it a shot. Don't be scared, okay? Same thing here. Multiply by the reciprocal, then you're going to have to factor that out and see what you can do. All right, don't be scared. Give it a shot. You'll be okay. Push pause and give it a try. All right, guys, welcome back. Okay, way to be brave, way to give that a try. We got 4x over x plus 6. All right, multiply by the reciprocal. So now the x squared plus 3x minus 18 is on top, and x squared minus 3x is on the bottom. Okay, what can we factor? What can we factor? Okay, well, we can't do any factoring over here. 4x on top, x plus 6 on the bottom. What multiplies to negative 18 and adds to positive 3, we're going to have an x plus 6 and an x minus 3. That would multiply to negative 18 and add to positive 3. And what can I do on the bottom? They both have an x squared and 3x. This actually has two x's. It's x times x. So I can take an x out in the front, and that's going to leave me now with just x to the first minus 3. All right. Fun part, cancel time. X minus 3 on the top, x minus 3 on the bottom, they cancel. X plus 6 on the bottom, x plus 6 on the top, they cancel. A regular x on the top and a regular x on the bottom, they cancel. And all we're left with after all of that is 4. It's just 4. Wow, that was a fun one. Okay, and then this one kind of relates back to what we just got done with. Graphing and vertical asymptotes where things were undefined, which was when the bottom equals 0. So we had x plus 7 over what multiplies to negative 28 and adds to negative 3. It's going to be tough. We got x minus 7, x plus 4. It's tough. Don't cancel that out yet. It's not going to... back that up. There we go. Now we can see. I forgot how close I was zoomed in. Okay? So we factored out the bottom here, this last one, to x minus 7, x plus 4. Tempting to cancel this, but you can't. They're not the same. I don't think we want to go the negative route here and cancel that either. We're just going to leave it alone. Okay? This is going to be undefined at 7 and at x equals negative 4. There we go, guys. A bit of a long one today, 23 minutes and some change, but we got 2 days on this lesson. 2 days on this lesson, all right? So make sure we're getting that homework done. Let me know if you guys have any questions. We'll see you in class.